A partner with biblical counseling is our Life Tree Resource Center.
Oh.
Right?
Woohoo.
Switching gears, Life Tree
It's
Resources.
not a bookstore.
Not a bookstore.
Not a bookstore.
It looks like one.
So
But
There's a kiosk.
It's not.
Renee Kearns
Mm-hmm.
is and her team do an amazing job of inventorying our books.
Selling books. Moving inventory.
They do sell books, but here's the deal. We make $0. We lose money. It's a failed business model.
We're having fun with this.
We lose money on our resource center intentionally because we give a lot of books away. So a lot of our counseling that we do, we just give people the book. There's some people, if they can't afford a book, we're going to make sure that they get it. So
Why the Life Tree Resource Center? Like, what's the point of it?
Because the Christian bookstore in town shut down.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. I don't think that's it. Is that it, Dewey? Why?
So we need to equip people with good material. So that material, it goes through a vetting process, and we seek to try to vet the books, the resources there, that to make sure that they're biblical, that they're giving good biblical counsel. So it does have a limited scope. It's not just a Christian bookstore that has a broad appeal to a lot of different. We're not looking. Our filter isn't the top 10 Christian books this year. Our filters are a lot different, and we're trying to give people good resources so they can go there trusting that there's been some thought put into what's on the shelf.
Yeah. I noticed there's no WWJD bracelets or testaments, breath mints out there.
Those were classic Christian bookstore.
Well, my theory is
Bookmarks.
like that's just the pitfall of any business. If you need to pay the bills and you want to make a profit, I think it's good to have Christian bookstores, but
Yes.
it's like what you need to push books.
Yeah.
You can't read them real fast,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
And so, like, if you're a Christian bookstore, it's like you got to get stuff that you can, and you can only sell so many Bible covers, right?
Yeah.
So I think it just tends to just go that way, and I think that highlights also. I think what's also important about the resource center is that we want to put resources forward that's going to be the most helpful instead of what's the most popular, right?
Right.
Right. So we're able to Renee just does a great job. Her team does a great job, just making sure that we're putting things forward that I think is going to help people in our church and in our congregation, and we have a sense of what's important and what's needed, and also what's fluff and not helpful.
Yeah, so we got the ministries, all this is by God's grace, by the way, and we're just following the model of the Bible, but you've got preaching in the assembled church, you've got family group Bible studies, community group, you got one-on-one discipleship, you've got friendships within the church, you've got resources at the Life Tree Resource Center that can help supplement, and just truth, truth. I think of Romans 12:2, not being conformed any longer to this age, but being transformed by the renewing of your mind, so you can attest what the will of God is.
So I have a question for Dave. I have a real serious question for Dave. When are you going to provide the book that we talked about last week? And can we put that in our resource center?
Do we have room on the shelf for another book? A book this.
So you're talking about the book we were talking
You
about.
promised the book. Didn't you promise a book?
Oh, no, it was rest.
Rest.
And I was like, where's the book?
Missions.
On mission.
Somebody in Blair's like, somebody should write a book about that.
Urgency.
Yeah.
Well, after the previous podcast, I had a lot of people say, when are you going to write that book? You got to write that book. I've never written a book before. And while I was resting, on Friday, I wrote a book.
What'd you do on Friday?
See?
I didn't write a book on
Didn't write a
Friday.
book.
It says
Friday.
it's a real book. It's a real book. I have 33 pages.
It looks like it went to a publisher and everything. Like it's all.
Yeah.
colors and well thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I did use our printer. I hope that's okay.
It's written by Dave Revnack on his day off. Proofread by you because Dave rests. That's good. So is there like an order for like 100 more of these or 1,000 or 10,000?
So,
New York Times bestseller list.
so it's proofread by you, right? Well, here's kind of the thing. It's like, this isn't mentioned a lot, but a lot of people who, I don't know, they kind of got a side ministry of publication, right? Books, all that kind of stuff. They use ghostwriters, right? Or at least editors that basically take material. Maybe they were preaching a sermon and that just kind of organize it, publish it, and then you make money on it. And it becomes this whole kind of thing. I'm not going to like proofread this whole thing, and I also used AI, a large language model to make my rantings a little bit more palpable.
It is your thought.
Absolutely. Basically, I wrote pages and pages of rants on 10 topics, and then it spat something back out, and I had to slap my theology back into it. And it was a very, very, metaphorically speaking, violent process.
Just make sure for your sermon coming up that you write it yourself.
So this is not going to be available at the Lifetree Resources Center, but if you want a ebook that you can
For $19.95.
that you can proofread for yourself, I'm only giving it to people who know the secret word, and that is rest. Reply back with rest. Tell me rest. Rest is your promo code. If you get that, then yeah, I'll shoot this over.
Type rest in the comments below.
Yeah, type rest in the comments below. Yeah,
so that's good.
So the main thing is you double dog dared me, and
Well done.
I wrote a real book.
That's impressive. On a Friday, on your day off.
So resources, one of the other reasons that we have a resource center, I think God's given us his word, and God's word is sufficient. But there's all these things written about what God's word says that can be really helpful.
Yeah.
So like this podcast is a resource. We're doing this. We're sharing ideas, thoughts. We're exploring. We're by no means saying that we're the final authority.
Right.
That
exploring some things
right,
together.
Right. We're exploring. We're discovering, and so resources oftentimes are a great way to do that. And so we want to just give people opportunities to put in their hands some meaningful things. Like, I think another thing too, that I think the church doesn't, I'm saying church broadly, doesn't address things like, I mean, when's the last church you've been to that had a book on display about your addiction to porn, or, or I don't know, those things that we don't talk about in church.
Abuse, shame.
Yeah. And so we don't want to shy away from those very real things that people are dealing with. And so you can go out onto our shelf right now and get books about those life issues that are real.
What does Scripture say about those? Yeah.
I think that highlights more of why we're doing this, not just with the Resource Center, but even with this podcast or video podcast or rawcast or whatever this thing is, right? Whatever. Call it what you will. Is that...
Or your book.
Yeah, your book.
Oh, your book.
Yeah. My book.
Or your book.
I will give you money to read it. How's that?
Yeah, that's nice.
No, I won't, actually. Is that just like the Christian bookstore, all right, it's fine, right? But it can't care for you. You go there as a consumer. And in a similar way, it's like, I know myself. If I'm just like watching YouTube videos on social media, all this kind of stuff, like, oh, I can feel good that like I'm engaging in Christian content. Those people do not care for my soul.
Right.
I can listen to good preaching, good teaching, good opinions. I can get in the weeds and stuff, but like those people don't know me at all, and they're not able to like tailor what they're doing with and what they're speaking, and they can't speak into my life. And in a similar way, I think we all have a stewardship to actually think about what we say and what we do and what we teach to actually help the people and encourage the people that he has put in our circle. And that means that like this is primarily, we don't want to go national or be famous. We want to encourage the people who often, honestly, sometimes it's hard to get in church. Sometimes it's hard to spend extra time in discipleship. Sometimes it's hard, but we want to at least throw ourselves out there to connect with people who really, we want to understand
So
where you're coming from and help you.
your comment sparks a question in my mind. Blair, do you know the names of the people who took the specific books off our shelf?
No, I have absolutely no clue.
Right.
Nor
So
any way to find out.
So what you're talking about, there's some initiation on the part of the person to get the resource, but then it's up to them to come to us and say, hey, I'm struggling. I've been really exploring this topic. And so would you come alongside of me or help me connect with somebody who's struggling with that?
So it could spur on action. It can spur on biblical counseling. It could spur on like, hey, I want to get a group together and put this into practice.
But I wanted to specify that we're not keeping track of who's taking what. Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that, like, we're thinking about the people that God has placed in connection and relation with us, like, broadly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we're not looking at like what people buy, but we're thinking about like what can we put on the shelf that would actually help us where we're at. And it's not like a discerning people kind of thing. It's kind of like, well, what would I want? What do I need? Like, we're kind of all swimming in the same culture and environment. And so I think it's more of that. It's that what people need. And just like, I like Renee and the women's and the resource center. There's Bible studies going on or book reading, right? Groups, there's a blog going on. And so the cool thing is that you can actually dig into a resource and do it with people in relationship in the church.
Yeah. And you can assume that if it's on the shelf that other people are probably dealing with those issues, which also speaks to. And another thing that's useful, we do keep track of what books go, not who takes the books, but what books go. So there are topics that it's clear, man, we need to address that in our sermons or in our teaching. We need to be talking about how to apply this. So it's a great resource in that regard as well. It kind of helps us to know where people are at, what struggles they're dealing with.
Yeah, so behind the scenes each week, Renee and her team come in once or twice a week, maybe more, and just coordinate everything. There's, I don't know how many's on the team, 5, 6, 7 people. It's great. It's a place for people to serve in the church. And then Renee will ask me about, hey, what are your preaching series coming up? What topics might the scriptures hit on, or is it a topical series? And so she wants to try to help have those particular themes and resources available. And that's why from time to time I'll promote a particular resource, not to make money or anything, but just to say, hey, this is a supplemental help that if you're interested in digging more into this, you can do that. So it's kind of like, everything trying to work synergy here with biblical counseling, life of the church, extra resources, and those types of things. So we're thankful for the Resource Center.
And then next time Renee asks me what my book recommendation is.
That's good.